Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. If you don't know me, I'm Rachel Jacobson. I'm our acting director at ASAP, you, she, her pronouns, and I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan, lands of the Anishinaabe and Wyandot peoples. And we are on part two of our two-part series exploring our fifth policy priority, which is on the adaptation workforce. So last time we were led by Frank Neopold from NOAA. We talked about kind of an overview of the current state of the adaptation and resilience workforce, and then we looked at funded climate resilience grant programs to explore how to identify competency, skill, and certification bottlenecks for adaptation and resilience jobs. And this time we're going to be led by Viteri Hart, and we're going to be reviewing draft adaptation job profiles for the public and private sectors and sharing insights from our own career pathways experiences. And so if you haven't already, please do change your Zoom name to include one of the groups listed here based on how many years of experience you have working in climate adaptation. So 0 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, or 9+. And we are going to be doing a lot of interactive work together today. So hopefully you are ready to engage. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Maria to share a little bit about our agenda and then start us off with some framing and overview as we move into our exercises.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. You can go to the next slide, I guess. And so what we really wanted to get out of the National Adaptation Forum workshop was really to just move the needle a little bit and get some data that we could, start shaping products that would be useful to all of ASAP members. So this occupational profile, we really wanted to hone in on the climate skills. And then we also created a survey, and that is going to be used to inform a future large-scale workforce survey once we get that funded, and also to identify non-climate skills that would be added to the occupational profile. Next slide. And these occupational profiles, we can think of them as sort of the evidence, right? That there's something happening, that there's this new emerging occupation happening out there. And it serves as a communication tool that we can share with young people, students who are interested in coming into this field, as well as experienced workers like myself who pivoted into this area and just needs to understand, hey, what does it take? What do I need to know? What kind of skills would work? What other skills do I lack? As well as communicating with educational institutions and other employers. So the reason why we looked at these occupational profiles is that they're part of one approach, this workforce development approach called career pathways. And that is really an alignment of the market. Employers talking to educational institutions, making sure that all the resources are there so that people don't kind of stumble through the workplace. That they can get trained and get a job. Prior to career pathways have been sort of in the new approach since 2013, 2014. It was the train and pray model. We just train people and we just hope they get a job. So the data you're going to see was sourced from actual job listings from January to October 8th, 2022. So next slide. And okay, so this is kind of forget what order I had. Well, this is one slide that Frank showed last month, and it's the landscape of the HVAC occupation. It's a nice visualization of jobs that are available in different channels of the sector. And if you see that he highlighted the residential installer, but if you look at the box there, it says job detail. And if you press that, then this is what comes up, this profile of this occupation. So that's what we hope to do. Okay, next slide. And these are the profiles that we came up for the for National Adaptation Forum. And what we'd like you to do is to go into your groups, and you'll be sorted by your years of experience, and read these and then discuss these. And so, you know, generally, what do you think about this? What does this sound right? What did we miss in terms of climate skills? We settled on this climate change adaptation resilience specialist kind of title for this occupation. Maybe you have some comments about that. This is sort of parallel to the sustainability specialist, which is another occupation. Some of the sample job titles were sourced from the job listings. The knowledge section is it generic? This was not sourced from the job listings, but what is missing from that? The skills are the top 5 skills, and programs of study are again what's on the job listings. There wasn't too much on minimum education. I guess the trend is to put to be very inclusive and not to have minimum education as a barrier. So I think that kind of came through. Certifications, like any emerging career, there's, you know, that's still not a big requirement, and some salary range. So these climate skills that are here, we're part of the job listings software that we use. That's what they have in there. So what is missing from that? And there's some questions there that you could use as to look at these, but really we would love comments. So on the agenda, you'll find the profile for your corresponding section. So just scroll down the agenda, and then your group can put their names in comments. So we'd love for you to spend most of the time on this, but if you get to a point, you can start the survey, and the survey QR code is right there. And I'm going to leave that open for a week. And that's more on your current career pathway. Okay, next slide. And for those of you who may need some, I think we all need some definitions here, but this will be also on the agenda, and sort of identifies these KSAs, what we call knowledge, skills, and abilities. And knowledge is essentially theoretical, not practical. Skills are practical, application of knowledge, and abilities are not on these profiles, but those are your innate talents that you bring to make that job successful. So that may be something that we work on in a future iteration. Okay, so I think that's it, and we can go to the breakout rooms.
Okay, wonderful. So I think I'm going to put the agenda in the chat one more time. So as Maria was saying, on the agenda, if you scroll down, you'll find each one of the profiles that Maria showed us. So, if you are in the 0 to 2 year group, there's a profile for you to look at. 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 plus. That's all on the agenda link. So you can look at those, and then you can write the comments that your group comes up with right there in the agenda. So if anyone doesn't have access to the agenda, please let Brianna know, and we'll make sure that you get access. And we'll be in these rooms until 45 past the hour, and really can just be an open discussion once you have a chance to review, to talk about how does this match or not match with your own experience, what's missing, and you can look at some of the prompting questions that Maria put on the agenda. Any questions for the good of the group before we go into breakouts? So Maria, I just want to take about 4 minutes at the end to wrap up. So if you want to lead us in a quick report back, go ahead.
Well, I think that there's, it would have been nice to have a little more time, I think. And I guess if somebody wants to share their ideas, that would be great.
Yeah, do we want to go group by group? We can maybe start with the 0 to 2 group. I think it was just you and Sophia, right?
Yeah, and Yeah, so I can tell you that Sophia had some observations about even though she was 0 to 2, she has a PhD, and where is that PhD reflected in the salary range? And I wanted to say, hey, I ran those numbers on the PhD level, but they're not part of this, but that is certainly something to work on in in future iterations of this. And then looking, I think we had some other skills that we talked about that are not on here, and some of the knowledge that needed to be included, such as climate trends and climate history, knowledge of things in the past that might be good to have there.
Awesome. And it looks like we just had one 3 to 5 group. Does anyone from the 3 to 5 group want to share what y'all talked about?
Hey, let's see. I guess I will. Am I on?
Yeah.
Am I on? Okay, great. Yeah, so we had some really great input. One of the things that we determined is that there was a definite need for an advanced degree to acknowledge that. We didn't discuss the salary, but we discussed people who might have had another career already who are now moving into this field. Also additional skills like LEED or ENVSP certifications. Policy was not at all included in that job description. We thought that there were people who had backgrounds in policy who are migrating into the resilience and adaptation space, not unlike myself and a couple of the other folks that were in our group. And they felt even if it's just a fellowship or maybe an entry-level job that, was derived, that might be something to attract people over to it, or at least support their experiences. We also felt that there should be some project management, supervision, management experience, not just project management, but managerial skills addressed, to be able to at least work with various different people and groups. Even at a 3 to 5 year level, you may be coming in and working with a variety of people at different educational and career experience levels. And so you'd want to have some managerial experience, possibly depending upon the role. So does anybody else want to jump in from my group and kind of fill in, or does that work for you all?
I think it was a good summary, Amy. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
That was good.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. And how about 6 to 8?
Gabriel, Dan, or Jeffrey, do y'all want to share back?
I'm happy to share some thoughts, or yeah. So we talked about a few things. One was we had a sort of question about sort of climate change as the sort of frame for everything, and I think part of this was borne out in the climate change listed with an asterisk under skills, and sort of asking a question about climate change as a sort of skill, but also in front of all of the different sort of descriptions of occupational profiles as well. And we talked a bit about how we might unpack some of the descriptions of skills. So for example, in terms of understanding you transition around fossil fuels, about how to understand work with vulnerable communities, how to analyze that, how to make sense of that. And so, part of I think the interpretation was to perhaps could we look at vulnerability analysis as that, and that's maybe slightly different than climate change analysis or climate change research, but it sort of gets into some of the knowledge areas themselves, versus sort of being at this sort of slightly higher level around where climate change is the sort of broader frame.
I want to add a comment to this, that those are great comments, that when we did this query a year and a half ago or so, I added vulnerability assessments as a skill. And in the software, it picks up in the cybersecurity occupation. because vulnerability assessments are there. I couldn't find it in the resilience. So, but it's a great addition, right? Thank you.
Awesome. And let's just take one report out from across the 9+. We had 3 9+ years groups, but if one person just wants to chime in here with some reflections, and then we'll move over to our next steps. Don't be shy, just jump in.
You know better than that, Rachel.
David, here's your reflection, but you only have 30 seconds.
I got a quick summary.
Go ahead. Joe's
So we basically started with the assumption that the skill sets seemed more focused on mitigation than adaptation. So a better sort of expansion definition of adaptation resilience versus mitigation, but also specifically zeroing in on definitions of adaptation resilience. And this is acknowledging that this was responding to a data collection. That it'd be useful to have more sort of climate and hydro skill sets, planning, sociology, sort of focusing on all dimensions of resilience, including social as well as physical, and then looking at the future. So what are the future jobs in resilience? Things like looking at pre-covery, what are the skills that have to do with that? Looking at emerging fields like artificial intelligence, like how is that going to factor in? And then I noticed there wasn't a lot in the advanced on leadership or like finance skills and things like that, because as you get higher level, that's really what you're focusing on, is leading and raising money or managing money. Anything else, guys?
Awesome. Yeah, and
that was perfect, Joe. Thank you. It's perfect.
Yeah, feel free to chime in more in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, John. I want to move us on just because we have some next steps to get to. But gotta find my notes here.
Rachel, before you
Yes.
you start, just everybody take the survey, okay? So just
yes.
so you have a week to do that, and you'll be filling in the gaps there based on your your own experience. So thank you for that.
Awesome. And we'll put the survey link in the chat if we haven't already, and you can grab it from the QR code as well. Big kudos to Maria for putting this all together, for wading through the data. We're going to take everything. So for those who missed this memo, the past 2 months in Policy Practice Group have been sort of a reimagination of a workshop that we ran at the National Adaptation Forum. So we now have data from that workshop, and we have data from this 2-part series. We're going to put all of that together, and then we're going to match it up with the needs that are identified in the policy priority to create the policy action plan for priority 5, as we've done for the previous priorities. And so that'll be published in the next 2 to 3 months. As we shared in the very beginning, we've been working on climate jobs fact sheets with EESI for the past few years, and we're hoping, well, EESI will certainly be publishing a climate jobs fact sheet this year. We are really in need of someone to support on data analysis for the upcoming fact sheet. So whether that is helping us identify a funding partner to fund data analysis, if you have a student who is looking to get academic credit for doing data analysis, really we can get creative here, but please reach out. If you can support on data analysis for the next fact sheet, we have the data, but we need to do the analysis. And then finally, we are really actively, and some of you are already involved in this, looking for funding partners for the Workforce Accelerator concept. And just to briefly review what we went over last time, here are the research questions for the Workforce Accelerator concept. And then we also have a list of resources and activities that we're hoping to create through the Workforce Accelerator. So just to kind of whet your appetite, if you want to connect with me and potentially partner on that, with Maria at Nomad Planners and Anna and Savannah at EESI, we would love to hear from you. So if you are interested in connecting on any of these next steps, you can just email me, and we'll really look forward to being in touch.